What's up YouTube, your old school expert, and today I've got another PSA returns to show you guys. I know it's been a while since I've sent to PSA. Most of my collection that is worth grading has already been graded, so I'm just not submitting as much to PSA anymore. And I'm pretty close to finishing my desired collection for PSA, so I just don't have a whole lot to send them these days, but I did have a few cards, so I sent them in, and this is what I got back. And so I went ahead and cut the top of the box, so it should be easier to open because they tape the hell out of it when they send you the box just like this. So let's get it open and get started. It should be full. I believe it was 15 cards. There we go. Let's see which way they're facing. Can't really tell. I think they're facing that way. So we'll pull out like the paperwork and stuff. And it looks, oh no, looks like they're facing this way. There we go. More stuff. Just a bunch of advertisements and stuff for really expensive cards. Alright, so PSA returns, let's do this. We'll just do it as is. And we got pretty good results, so I'm really not, definitely not complaining about this one. So we'll start off with Jinzo. This is a first edition PSV Jinzo, and this got a PSA 10. Very happy about this. It's a beautiful card, and it's well centered, and it was pretty flawless. So I was really hoping for a 10, pretty much expecting it, just because this card had no issues with it. So that's really cool, and I love how much this card sparkles. It's also one of Joey's cards, so definitely busted out the Joey mat for that. There's a PSA 10 Jinzo. Next, we've got oh, these are way out of order, but that's all right. A PSA 10 DD Warrior from Tournament Pack, what is it, 7? Yeah, Tournament Pack 7. So I've got 2 of these now, so I'll definitely be willing to trade or sell one of them. So I guess you can hit me up. Probably prefer you hit me up on Instagram. It's just easier to trade and sell from there than from YouTube. But yeah, this is an extra DD Warrior. Gem Mint 10. Next, we've got Nightmare Wheel. This also got a Gem Mint 10. That's a beautiful card. It's one of my favorite traps of all time that is not from Metal Raiders. Just because the artwork is super cool, and it was kind of used when it came out. I mean, it was decent. It was like Spellbinding Circle, but a little bit better because it inflicted direct damage to your opponent's monster. And they really couldn't do much about it except get rid of Nightmare Wheel with like a Mystical Space Typhoon, Heavy Storm, that kind of stuff. So that is a really cool Gem Mint 10, and the population's pretty low. There's only, I think, 2 or something like that. Next, we've got a Reaper on the Nightmare, and that also got a Gem Mint 10. So this is actually kind of hard to get a 10 on because a lot of these are really off-centered. It's kind of a cool Goat Control era card, and the artwork is definitely fantastic on that card. Really cool looking. So that got a 10. Next, we got Fiber Jar. This got a 9, and I think it got a 9 because it had like a really, this is from the case, obviously, but it had a really small ding somewhere in the upper middle, and I was kind of hoping they would notice it, but they did, and that's understandable. I mean, they did their job. So this got a 9. It had great centering. I actually bought this at a local card store for $2 or $3, and I figured it was a good deal regardless, and then I looked at it and I was really impressed at how good of shape it's in, and it's not off-centered like most LOD cards. So Fiber Jar got a 9. Next, we got Mask of Restrict. This also got a 9. This was a little bit, excuse me, this was a little bit disappointing. I kind of thought this was going to get a 10. It's in really good shape. It's a little bit off-center left to right, but definitely not bad enough to knock it down from a 10 to a 9. So they must have seen something that I did not see, like some kind of scratch. Again, the back is a little off-centered, and for some reason, all of these have this like scratch right here on the case. But I can definitely assure you that's the case, and not the cards. See, I kind of wiped it off there. But anyways, yeah, they must have seen something I did, and I thought this was worthy of a 10, and got a 9. So I don't know, maybe I'll send it back and hope for the best next time. Next, we got a Hell Palmer. This got a 10, and I'm super stoked about this because this is the cover card for Honor Guardian, and what a beautiful card this is. The artwork is cool. It's creepy as hell. And Hellpalmer had kind of a cool effect, but I don't really remember anybody really using it. But definitely a cool card. Very nostalgic card. And it got a Gem Mint 10. Next we've got Amplifier to go with the Jinzo. So we actually got Amplifier and Jinzo, both first edition PSA 10s. And again, with the artwork, this card is just insane. The artwork's so cool. He looks really intimidating with that thing on his head. So I had to send it in. It looked like a Gem Mint 10 and it got a 10. So next we have Revival Gem. This actually got an 8 and I don't know why. I guess I could see it getting a 9, but the 8 was kind of surprising. Not a big deal, but it would have been cool to have as a 10, but I don't really see what gave it an 8. I didn't see any wear or anything like that, so a little bit surprising, but that is a Near Mint 8. Super random. Next we've got Ceasefire. This got a 9. It's probably for centering. All the Ceasefires that I have that are in like Gem Mint condition are all off-centered, so I guess there's just an issue with this card in particular. I know Pharaoh's Servant has centering issues, as a lot of 2002 cards did, 2002 to 2003, but Ceasefire in particular has really bad centering, so I was kind of hoping they'd overlook it, but they didn't, and that's fine, so that got a 9. Next up is Beast of Tewara. This again was a centering issue. This time top to bottom instead of left to right. Left to right's really good. Top to bottom, it's off-centered. I think it's close to being able to be a 10, but I do understand why this would get a 9. It was wishful thinking, just kind of hoping they would be okay with it as a 10, but it got a 9. So again, this might be something that goes back, but I don't know. Centering's kind of hard to argue. I mean, it's pretty obvious, and they have standards, and they have to follow those standards, so that got a 9. But it's still a beautiful card. Really like that card. Next, we've got Relinquished, and this got a Gem Mint 10, first edition from Magic Rulers. So this was no surprise. I didn't see anything wrong with it. Centering's good, no scratches, no wear, nothing like that. So this was a nice pull, nice Gem Mint 10, and I'm definitely happy with that one. Next we've got Nobleman of Crossout. That got a Gem Mint 10, and I love this card. It's really nostalgic. This card was used from the time it came out all the way through GOAT format. It was a really powerful card, just because flip effect monsters were such a burden back then, and there weren't a lot of monster and magic and trap effects that got rid of face down cards. So this was really like the king for that. There's also Raigeki and Dark Hole, but those were restricted to 1 each, so this really stopped flip effect monsters, and that got a Gem Mint 10. Next we got Ancient Sacred Wyvern. You might be wondering why the hell did I grade this, and it's because it's actually my wife's favorite card, and there's a story behind it. I've told it before, but I'll tell it very quickly. I had one of these, I pulled it, and you know, like just sometime later I was like, hey, what's your favorite card of all the cards I have? And she said this one. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then what happened was I ended up selling that Ancient Sacred Wyvern, and she was kind of upset. She's like, well, you know, that was my favorite card, even though she doesn't really care for Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was like, man, I'm sorry. So, you know, a little bit later on, probably like a month or so after that, I bought a tin and got first edition Ancient Prophecy packs in it, and lo and behold, we pulled a Ancient Sacred Wyvern. So this time we kept it, and it's off-centered, and it's got like some wear on like the edge. It's either top or bottom, I don't remember. It's kind of hard to see when it's in a case like this, but yeah, I was thinking an 8.5, so it got an 8, and I'm okay with that. I just wanted it slabbed. That's all I really cared about, so that is why this is in the submission. And finally, we sent in an Air Knight Parshath, and I believe this got a 9 because it was in great shape, and it's okay that it got a 9 because if you look at the back, the centering is not very good, and I guess it was right on the cusp. The front isn't very good either, so it's kind of like it was right on the border. What PSA requires is a 60-40 on the border for centering, and this is probably right on the edge of 60-40, so it probably was like, you know, 65-35 or something like that. So it's got a 9, but definitely a cool card, and I'm really excited to have that in my PSA collection, although I do have a 10. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you're interested in this DD Warrior, which is for sale or trade.